The state is asking for a special setting in this case. The parties are not in agreement with the conservatorship. Mr. Bass is asking for a week on, a week off. Ms. Bass is requesting the standard possession schedule. So that is one of the biggest concern right now. I will ask the court to consider an attorney ad litem on this case.
All right, Mr. Worley.
Judge, I mean, I'm certainly okay as always with a special setting. The facts of this case, I think, at least are some of the salient facts are not in dispute. The father has been absent from the child's life for a period of 2 years that just ended in December of 2024. Mother is willing to let him have an expanded standard possession order, but he's fighting for 50-50, which we don't think is appropriate. But I do not believe the court needs the assistance of an ad litem. I don't want to invade the province of the court or be presumptuous, but I don't think, given the fact that dad's been away out of the child's life for an extended period of time, this court needs an ad litem to be appointed in this case.
Judge,
go ahead, Ms. Terry.
Just to make sure, I believe that the parties will agree, at least I believe they will, that Mr. Bass has been exercising a week on, week off since for at least 2 months now.
Okay. But again, yeah, that's here's the deal, Mr. Bass. I didn't say it in my morning speech this morning, but even if I would give you 50-50, I'm still owning full child support, sir. That's what advanced told me to do, and guess what? That's what I ended up doing. But anyway, I don't like 50-50 personally. It has to be perfect to work, so I'm going to need to get that information to see if it's going to be perfect. It can work perfectly going forward, but it is what it is. And Mr. Worley, you represent Miss Bass?
I do.
All right, thank you. All right, guys. I normally, like I say, since this little girl's older age, I am going to go ahead and appoint an attorney / guardian ad litem, because I do want that get some input from the child also, okay? And I want to get that neutral, and so I'm going to go ahead and appoint Ms. Gustafson as a item / guardian ad litem in this matter. I'm going to look at doing a special setting. I'm going to keep this on Zoom. She's 9 years old. I don't think I need to do an in-chambers interview. So again, it is I'll look at obviously the circumstance, and Dad wants to try to do the 50-50. Yeah, I'll hear testimony on it. But again, sir, it's not that's not my norm. I don't the judge has not had good luck with 50-50 as a lawyer or as a judge. So I'm going to put the burden of proof on you on this one, sir, to see why it's in your child's best interest. And I'm going to give the child a lawyer, and I'm going to do we need to go ahead and set something up as far as a temporary order today, guys? Because I didn't hear that. Because it sounds like they've been doing 50-50 since December. Is that in dispute now, or do we need to have a temporary hearing?
That's in dispute, Judge. I mean, he rolled back into town after being gone for 2 years, and my position is he's bullied her into saying we don't have any orders, so I'm going to keep the child 50-50. Mom's position is that's not in the child's best interest.
Okay, let's have a hearing, guys.
Okay,
let's have a temporary hearing.
Judge, you want temporary orders just to address the conservatorship and the visitation mainly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, and child support. I'm
okay.
looking at going ahead and doing the whole 9 yards. Sir, stop shaking your head. No. The answer is yes. Okay. I get to do what I want to do in my court. Okay. I'm not being disrespectful or anything, sir, but stop shaking your head. All right. Thank you.
I'm sorry, sir. It wasn't meant for you. It was saying based on things that the lawyer was saying.
All right, well, that's good, but you can't do that, sir. You can't nod your head. You can't make comments. This is a court of law. This isn't Judge Judy, okay?
I do apologize, sir.
All right, and do you have counsel here today, sir?
No, I do not.
All right, then, sir. Well, again, we're looking at going ahead and doing a temporary hearing on this matter, and I'm going to listen to and I'm going to see what we're going to do as far as the temporary order is concerned. I'm going to set up temporary custody, temporary child support. But again, sir, history is going to rule on this one. You know, the history of this case is what the history is, and I'm going to find out what that is, and I'm going to go ahead and, like I say, I am going to give the child a lawyer, but I'm going to go ahead and get this set up so we can go forward, because this matters like this, I will take sometimes at least somewhere between 4 to 8 weeks before we can get back in here and do a final hearing. And I want to go ahead and not have this thing just lying out there with no temporary orders. So at this time, I'm getting ready to go ahead and call this matter, and we're going to get some testimony from both you and the mom to see what the circumstances are, and we'll take it from there. So here we go. At this time, the court's going to go on the record, and this is Bell County Cause number 23 DFAM 339,734. This is in the interest of Bass minor child, non-custodial party being Joshua Bass, custodial party being Laxmi Bass, and this matters before the court. Now, I may have mispronounced your first name, ma'am. Sorry about that. It's before the court on a original petition to sue the affecting parent-child relationship that was filed back in June of last year. The court will know for the record that both parties have previously been noticed and served. Let's see, Ms. Bass was served on 12 July, and Mr. Bass was served back on the 16th of July in, looks like, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So anyway, at this time, I'll ask the state for an opening for the state to tell the court what the state wants to do here with this temporary hearing, and then I'll give Mr. Worley the opportunity to make an opening statement. Mr. Bass, I don't let non-lawyers make opening statements. At the end of the hearing, if you want to make a closing statement or closing argument, you'll be allowed to do so, sir, since you represent yourself. But I just want the lawyers to tell the court what we're exactly looking at. The court is going with looking at temporary custody, child support, and temporary child support, and temporary visitation, or however we're going to set that up. But anyway, I'll let the state start it out and then go to Mr. Worley, and then we're going to get some witnesses under oath, and we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Your Honor, the state doesn't take a position on the visitation, but the state will assist in the questioning for visitation, especially with Mr. Bass. And then we'll ask that you set child support as you deem appropriate after listening to the testimony regarding the visitation.
All right, Mr. Worley.
Yes, I'd call Laxmi Bass, Judge.
All right, then. You're going to waive opening, sir?
I will waive opening.
All right, thank you. I'll ask both Mr. Bass and Miss Bass to unmute yourselves and raise your right hands, and I'll swear both of you in. All right, do you both solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give here today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, you're both officially under oath, and you may proceed at this time, Mr. Worley.
Thank you, Judge. Laxmi Bass, please state your full name for the court.
Yes, Laxmi Glorianne Bass.
And are you the mother of the child, the 9-year-old child, Jocelyn?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And does that child live with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You've heard, maybe you overheard some of the communications that we had with Judge Mike Nelson before this hearing started, but I'm going to, at the risk of being repetitive, I need to repeat it because we're now on the record. This child, has this child, Jocelyn, lived with you her entire life?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, in December of 2024, did Mr. Bass, Josh Bass, did he move back to the Temple, Texas area?
Yes, at the time he told me that he was going to be coming to Temple. I asked him if it was going to be a permanent or back one of those vacation times that he had before in the past, and he told me no, he would be staying here for good at the time.
Okay. And in the previous, more limited to previous 2 years, the approximate 2-year period prior to December of 2024, do you know where Mr. Bass, Jocelyn's father, had been living?
As far as the physical address, I do not know, but he was in Wisconsin and for job wise, yes.
Okay. And during that period of time, was that for approximately a 2-year period?
Yes, until December 21st,
Okay.
24, yes.
During that 2-year period that Mr. Bass was in Wisconsin, was he paying you child support?
No, sir.
Well, did he pay you any child support whatsoever during that 2-year period that you can recall?
The only funds that I had received from him through Cash App was a Christmas gift, money for a bike. And earlier this year for the school period, he asked to send money and I said that was fine. So he was able to send some money for starting of the school year of this year that was coming up.
Okay. And how much money was that, if you recall?
I want to say it was, I have to go through my phone, but I know the first one was like 190 for the bike, for a Christmas bike.
Mhm.
And I think the school was probably like 200 or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is Jocelyn well taken care of by
Yes.
you?
Yes.
And what grade is this child in?
She is currently in 3rd
Where does she go to school?
at Thornton Elementary.
And how does she do in her school?
I mean, just like a normal child. I mean, she always have the little issues in math and stuff, but we communicate very well with the teachers, and we put her in anything that she needs to help her, and she always ends up coming well when it comes to her future exams and tests.
Okay. Look, it is true that since Josh Bass came back here to the Bell County area in December of 2024, it is true that you have been allowing Mr. Bass to have liberal visitation. Is that correct?
Yes, I
Okay.
did at the beginning tell him I didn't want to do every week because I knew that this might change when we do end up going to divorce. I have stated, let's just do every other weekend or, the other days, but he said, no, he wants to do 7 days, Monday through Friday. And I told him with that, I'll do it since you haven't been here for a while. And I know you want to spend time with her. I will allow it until we reach a decision in the court that, would be the best interest at the time.
Okay. So since he's been back December 2024 to today's date, we're now March 4th of 2025. Has he been paying you child support?
No, sir.
Has he paid you any child support during 2025?
No, sir.
Do you right now, ma'am, believe that it is in Jocelyn's best interest that she continue on in this 1 week on, 1 week off, 50-50 alternating possession schedule? Do you think that's in her best interest?
Yes, I don't see why it would change any different with any other visitation. It's not like I'm not letting him see his child.
No, that you're not listening to my question. Well, one of the reasons that Judge Nelson is holding this hearing is to determine in between now and the time we go back and have a special setting on a final hearing, are you wanting, because maybe I've got this wrong, maybe I've misunderstood you, are you wanting to keep this on a 50-50 or not?
No, sir.
And
No, 50-50.
why don't you want to keep it on a 50-50?
I just don't see why it should be. I don't understand why it needs to be a 50-50. She's always been with me. She knows what we do. She knows how it run in our household. It was a big change for her. I'm not saying she don't want to see her dad and her sister, but why the whole big change? I don't agree with it.
I mean, quite frankly, is it your contention today that Mr. Bass has, for lack of a better word, kind of bullied you into doing this 50-50 since Christmas of 2024?
Yes, I've always told him, let's start off slow because of the sake of Jocelyn, the transition. She's always been around me and her other family, back and forth as far as, holidays and stuff. So I know this is going to be a big change for her.
Okay. Are you asking that the court strike that. Do you agree that Mr. Josh Bass can have a standard possession order of visitation?
Yes.
Okay. And from my discussions I have with you today, are you even in agreement with the fact that he can have what I have told you was what I call an expanded standard possession order?
Yes, I agree with that as well.
All right. You're wanting him to start paying child support. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what we've learned today is he gets VA disability of $3,148 per month. Is that what your understanding was?
I don't know the dollar amount. I know it's 90%. That's all I know.
Okay. But the 3,148 was the amount we learned from the Attorney General attorney today. Is that correct?
Correct.
And we also learned that in addition to that, he had a full-time job.
Prior when?
Well, he got a full-time job. According to what the Attorney General told us, he has a full-time job with something called Anicio Enterprises Incorporated in Belton, Texas.
Yes, and I just learned that as well today.
But apparently he makes minimum wage or he gets a commission, right? So if his commission exceeds minimum wage, he gets a commission. But if he doesn't earn that much in commission, the floor of his job is $7.25 an hour.
Yes.
All right. So you want him to start paying support? Yes, sir. And you understand that there's an issue about retroactive support, but you're willing to waive it and let Judge Nelson reserve that decision until the time we come back to court. Is that correct? Correct. Judge, and one final question, ma'am. Right now, this child's on Medicaid. Is that correct? Yes. And you've told the Attorney General attorney that you are fully employed and you do believe you will have available to you health insurance and dental insurance through your employer in the near future. Is that correct? Yes, they told me the open enrollment will be in August, but as long as I have order, I would be able to do it, effective immediately. Okay. Yes. So, and in the event that you do enroll this child on medical and health benefit coverage, you're asking for Mr. Bass to reimburse you for the additional premium cost to you. Is that correct? Yes. But you don't know for today, you don't know that exact number. The only thing I got received today from my employers was the number depending on what plan I picked from health, dental, and vision. Yes. But you don't know the exact number as we sit here today. They told me 560. I know, ma'am, but we've been through this before, and I'm not picking on you, my own client. Oh, yes. Yeah. We don't know because that's including me and the child. Correct. Yes. Okay. I passed the witness, Judge.
All right. Mr. Gonzalez-Taylor?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Bass, on the visitation, are you in agreement that Mr. Bass would either pick up and return under the expanded standard at the school? And then if the child is not in school, are you in agreement that pickup and returns happen at your residence? Yes, ma'am. And when it comes to the conservatorship rights and duties of a parent, are you in agreement that you two be named joint managing conservators? Yes, ma'am. And Mr. Worley explained that to you already, what that means. Correct. Yes. Are you asking the court to appoint you as having the exclusive right to designate the primary residence of the child? Yes, ma'am. When it comes to a geographic restriction, since the judge is going to do temporary orders, would you agree at least under temporary orders that the child reside in Bell County or any contiguous county until the judge makes a final decision? Yes, ma'am. You're in agreement to continue the child on the government health insurance until you're able to provide the documentation for the next setting? Correct. Yes, ma'am. And you're not asking that your information, your address, phone number, or email not be included in this order. You're okay with providing all that? Yes, ma'am, I am. Have a minute, Judge. Hold on.
No problem.
I passed the witness.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, I'm gonna go ahead and let you call your next witness in, please. Thank you.
Mr. Worley, are you
Judge, I don't have any further witnesses today. Thank you, though.
All right, then. Ms. Gonzalez-Taylor, do you wish to call the father as a witness at this time?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much.
The state
go ahead.
The state would call Joshua Bass.
All right, Mr. Bass, please state your full name for the record, sir.
Joshua Kirkney Bass.
All right, thank you very much. You may proceed, Ms. Taylor.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Bass, are you in a good place? Because I know you were walking around earlier. You're in a good place now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I want to talk about, actually, I want to go to the child support first before we talk about the other stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you receiving VA disability?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
And how much are you receiving?
$3,148 monthly.
And are you able to provide actual documentation at the next setting or prior to the next setting regarding that?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Do you have another job?
I work with Inicio Enterprises. I'm a third-party salesman for Reliant.
So what is it that you sell?
Reliant Energy, electricity.
And how are you paid there?
If I make enough sales, I am paid based on commission. If I do not make enough sales, then I'm paid based on hourly at a rate of minimum wage.
When did you start that job?
I have been on the job now 5 weeks.
And in the 5 weeks, what is the most commission that you have received?
My biggest check that I have received was after taxes and everything, $878.
What was it before taxes?
Before taxes, it was $11.45, I believe.
For 1 week?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the lowest you've received in the last 5 weeks?
$105.
That was prior to taxes?
That was prior to taxes, yes.
Was that because you didn't work a full week?
Yes, I had worked 1 day and only got 1 sale, so the sale outweighed the hours.
Are you working 40-hour weeks?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're at least going to make $1,256 a month then, a minimum wage, 40-hour weeks. Do you
Yes.
agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
But you've already had 1 week where you've made more than that.
Yes, ma'am.
What about the other weeks in between?
I've made my check for this past week was $545.
That's for the week?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, what was your other one, if you know? Some of your other ones.
I've had $600 and around $670 for a week. And
Anything else?
the first one was, I want to say, around $730.
So real quick, sir, it sounds like every check you've got has been commission except for that. Every check you've gotten has had commission instead of a minimum wage, correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Bass, do you have other biological children?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
How many other biological children do you have?
3 other biological children.
Do any of them live with you?
Yes, 2 of them live with me.
Which 2 live with you? What are their ages?
My oldest daughter, Jazriel, she's 14, and my son, Joshua, he is soon to be a month.
1 month old?
Yes.
And then the other child?
Jalen, she lives with her mom.
All right, so just to make sure the numbers are good, 4 biological children, including the one before the court today.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have health insurance available through your employer?
No, I do not. It's more on, well, I actually, I'll have to ask because they didn't offer any insurance. There was
Okay.
benefits package or anything included.
All right, Mr. Bass, do you have any concerns with your address, phone number, or email being included in this order?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay, and do you have any concerns with, regardless of what the court orders for visitation, to having either pick up or returns at a school or continue to pick up or return at Miss Bass's residence?
I have no issues with that.
Let's talk about, well, are you in agreement that y'all be named joint managing conservators?
Yes, I am.
You understand that this order could include tiebreakers, so that if you and Ms. Bass cannot agree on major decisions, the court could order that she get to break the ties. Are you in agreement with that?
Not really. That's if she's the primary, correct?
Yes,
Uh, uh, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, are you in agreement at least for temporary orders until an attorney ad litem can come in?
Yes.
Okay. Are you asking for there to be a restriction to where Miss Bass resides at least temporarily?
Yes, for Bell County.
Are you in agreement to Bell County and surrounding counties? Or are you
That
asking just for Bell County?
Bell County and surrounding counties is fine.
Mr. Bass, let's talk about visitation. Did you live out of state for a while?
Yes, I was working out of state.
And how long were you living out of state?
I've been back and forth for the past 4 or 5 years, working out of state, doing traveling work.
Did you and Miss Bass live together for a while? Oh, I'm not sure. I'm gonna go back. When did you two separate?
We separated officially in 2022.
And prior to that, you lived in the home with Miss Bass
Yes,
with
ma'am.
the children?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many children were at the home at that time?
At that time, there were Anthony, Jocelyn, 4.
And who were the 4 kids?
There were 2 of her older kids, Gabby, Anthony, then my daughter, Jazriel, and then our daughter together, Jocelyn.
And Jazreel is the 14-year-old that lives with you?
Yes, ma'am.
When you separated, is that when you left out of state?
No, I actually had been working out of state while we were still together.
Okay. Now, since separation and up until December, because in December, did you move back to Texas?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Between the time of separation and December, were you visiting with the child in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
How often were you visiting?
I would visit twice a year. We had shutdowns for the factory during the summer and during the winter. We do a Christmas down, and I'd come home and visit during that.
And how long would you keep her during that time period?
Majority of the time.
How long were the visits? A week, 30 days?
It would be 2 weeks.
So you'd get her for 2 weeks, twice a year?
Yes, ma'am.
When you moved back to Texas, how is it that you came to get possession of her and start this week on, week off?
Well, we had actually discussed when we first talked about separating and divorce and everything, we had discussed doing 50-50 joint custody at that time. And then when I had spoke to her mother and told her, hey, I would be coming back to Texas, I asked her, did Jocelyn tell you that I'm moving back home? And she was like, no, she didn't. So I told her I would be here either the 20th or 21st. Then I asked her, I was like, would you be okay with me getting her when I get there? And she said, yeah, that's no problem.
All right, well, hold on a second, Mr. Brass. I got to ask you some questions.
Yes, ma'am.
So when was the first week that you got Jocelyn?
It was for the week of Christmas.
And have you been having her, is it every other week?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you been doing that since the first week in December?
Not the first week of December. It was the week of Christmas. We've been doing it since then.
So she's been with you, was she with you every other week in January and February?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you taking her to school in the mornings, or how's she getting to school?
I'm taking her to school and picking her up as well.
And when were y'all exchanging? When do you get possession of her? In the beginning of the week?
I pick her up from school the Monday from school.
And when do you drop her off?
Her mom either comes and picks her up Sunday. If it's a holiday Monday, I'd sometimes have her Monday, or I drop her off to her house.
You know what time on Sundays?
It varies. If she asks if she can get her at 3:30 or 4:30, I'm like, that's fine. It's been days where I've dropped her off later, just depending on what everybody has going on.
Are you asking the judge to continue the week on, week off schedule?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Would you be in agreement since there has to be a set time to 6 p.m. on Sundays?
Yes, that would be great.
Why are you asking for a week on, week off?
Because I feel like my daughter's flourishing more, being able to be around her mother and also being around me and her siblings. Um, During the time while I was working in state after the separation, the only time that my daughter was allowed to see her siblings or my family and extended family is when I came home. And that there was a big culture shock to her and a big change because she went from being around her sister all the time and being around my family as well all the time.
All right, Mr. Bass, hold on a second. So, prior to the separation, the sister that you're talking about, the 14-year-old and her lived together, Jocelyn.
Yes, ma'am.
How, I mean, if you had to tell the court how things are going with Jocelyn, which did she transition well? I mean, she doing well?
Yes, ma'am. She's doing very well. She comes home because I had heard from her mom, she was having issues sleeping at night. Over here at my house, bedtime on school nights are 9 o'clock. And she's in bed, TV's off, tablets off, and she sleep by 9:30, 9:45. There's no need for melatonin like there was at mom's house. She's waking up with no problem, has plenty of energy, eats breakfast before heading out to school, and we sit home and do whatever homework she has, if any, when she gets home from school.
And Mr. Bass, if the judge was to order an expanded standard instead of the week on, week off, would you be able to pick her up, the first, third, and fifth weekends, which would be Friday from school and drop off Monday at school?
Yes.
Ask the witness.
All right, Mr. Worley.
I have no questions of this witness, Judge. Thank you.
All right, here's your chance, Mr. Bass. Not in too long of a narrative, since you represent yourself. Is there anything else you think I need to know, sir?
Yes, sir. I just feel like, I was being made to look as the bad guy, saying I was bullying Miss Bass or Laxmi into doing a week-by-week case when I have all the text messages and everything in my phone that we discussed about doing this, even prior to me returning from working out of state. And then also, I feel like it's not in the best interest for her to have limited time with me or her other family. And that she's doing great. There was no hard transition. She's very happy doing what we're doing right now because she is getting to spend equal time with us.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, then. Any other witnesses at this time, Ms. Gonzalez-Taylor?
No, state would rest.
All right, folks. Let me go ahead and hear a closing statement and closing the argument. Right now, whose week is the child? I'm sorry. Who's the child with this week right now?
Mom.
Okay, thank you. All right. And which school did she go to again, please, ma'am?
Thornton Elementary.
Okay, and when's their spring break?
It's coming up on the 10th through the 11th, the 11th through the 17th or so.
Okay.
So the following week, next week.
Okay. So yeah, until St. Patrick's Day. Got it. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's see. At this time, I'll go ahead and listen to closing statements. And Mr. Bass, I'll let you make a closing statement, but I'll let the lawyers go first, and that way you can hear what they're telling me or what they're requesting. Thank you. So at this time, I'll start with the state, then go to Mr. Worley, and then to Mr. Bass. Thank you.
The state would ask the court to make temporary orders regarding conservatorship. I believe the parties are in agreement to be named joint managing conservators. We'll leave it within the court as to whether or not mom will be named primary at this time or whether the court's going to change the visitation. On visitation, we'll leave that within the court's discretion as well. Child support, Your Honor, the court orders child support. We're going to ask that it be based on the VA disability of $3,148 a month. However, I don't know how much the court wants to include. If not, I can come up with some numbers on the other.
Tell you what, for right now, since we had such a small amount of, he's making a little bit above minimum, but since we got such a small data sample, let's go ahead and just use the minimum wage presumption for the regular job, and we'll take care of that at the final hearing.
All right, and then the state would ask that government health insurance be ordered at this time. And if you give me 1 second, I give you a child support number, Judge.
Alrighty.
All right, if the court orders government health insurance, the state would ask for $75 a month, and we can
Okay.
start that on April 1st. And then child support, giving him credit for actually, I need to give him credit for 3 other children. Hold on. Giving him an income of the minimum wage for income with the tax-free income of $3,148. 3 other children, $75 to the state for health insurance. His guideline child support would be $624.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Worley.
Yes, Judge, thank you. We're asking for the court to appoint the parties joint managing conservators, but give my client, Laxmi Best, the right to establish the child's primary residence, and to give her primary possession and custody of the child, give the father an expanded standard possession order. My client is a good lady. She has been a very good mother to this child, and she's been over backwards, quite frankly, to work with a father who has paid little to no child support ever. But nonetheless, when he has decided to visit Texas, she accommodates him by giving him liberal possession, including when he asked for liberal possession beginning in Christmas of this past year. But I don't think there have been any facts that would consider this court, which I know is a reasonable court, to think that this child should be bounced back and forth week on, week off, when her mother has been her primary caregiver her entire life, her entire 9 years on this earth. So we're asking the court to order whatever the court believes to be guideline support, and to give him an expanded standard possession order. That's all I have, Judge. Thank you for your time and patience.
Thank you, Mr. Worley. Mr. Bass, anything you want to tell me in closing, sir?
Yes, sir. I just want to, ask that the court take into consideration that besides these past 2 years where I was only home twice a year due to work, I've been very active in my daughter's life before that. I was an in-home parent. Me and her mother were living together, and I was there raising my child as well. And as far as the child support goes, since I've had my daughter, or since we've been back home, and we've been doing it week-to-week basis, I've provided any and everything that my daughter has needed while she is with me. And that goes from food, clothing, all the essentials. And as far as it being, us bouncing back and forth, we live in the same city. We're literally maybe 10 to 15 minutes apart from each other's home. And I don't see what the issue would be with her still being able to go to school, her still being picked up and dropped off instead of riding a bus, and her still being able to have that equal amount of time with both parents and both sides of each family.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Judge,
right.
if I may, one more thing before you roll.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
The other thing is, Judge, there is a divorce that's been filed in this case. It's in a different cause number. So the state would ask that we do an order consolidating as well.
All right, so it's got to go in the district, but for right now, I'll go ahead and make our attempt, and then if it needs to be transferred to the district, we'll let the DJ handle everything else going forward after that. Okay. So since there's a divorce file, that's going to change this thing around a little bit, because I'm not going to appoint an ad litem then. I am going to go ahead and make a temporary order, give the day the opportunity to do something, but I tell you, okay, so I'm not going to be appointing ad litem because, again, it may end up in district court. So for right now, I'm going to just go ahead and base this on the information I have here. Here's the deal, sir. Like I said earlier, I'm not a truly sold on 50-50. It has to have special circumstances. That's why I was going to go ahead and appoint an ad litem to double check everything. All right, Judge. Okay, so for right now, I'm gonna go ahead and name the parties temporary joint managed conservators. I'm gonna give mom the right to decide domicile. I'm gonna go ahead and give dad the extended visitation package. And my understanding is that's from 6 p.m. on, that's from pick up from school on on Thursdays and return to school on Monday. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, then let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and do that. And that's going to be the first, third, and fifth Thursdays of the month going forward until as far as the temporary R is concerned. Whose spring break is this year under the conservatorship, since I'm giving mom the right to decide domicile?
Judge, I promise, I'm sad to say I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'll let y'all figure that out. But if it's dad's spring break or mom's spring break, let's figure it out. I'm gonna go ahead and set child support, sir. This is why this place is called child support court. I'm gonna go ahead and again just use the minimum wage for right now, but you'll be required to at any future hearings to bring your most recent pay stub so we can get a year-to-date average. But for right now, I'm gonna go ahead and add order cash medical at $75 a month and child support at $624 a month. That starts the first day of April. Ma'am, here's the deal. I know you're looking at health insurance, and of course, you might want to go ahead and get your own health insurance. But it's been my understanding over the years that if the child's on Medicaid, Medicaid's not going to let you just cancel that. If they kick her off or take her off, then obviously that's something else. But so long as you have Medicaid, ma'am, I'm going to go ahead and for right now order the 75, and that's going to go to pay off the pay the Medicaid. Now, if you do get off of Medicaid and do take your own insurance, then we'll take that up at the final, or the district court will take it up at final. But again, at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and set this up as such. Again, that's not enough history here for me to go with a 50-50. The last time I went with a 50-50 circumstance, the parents have been doing it for over 2.5 years, and it was purely voluntary, and there wasn't a lot of problems going on. But again, based on this circumstance and this just happening, and the fact that the state until recently I was not putting in the standing order in these cases, but they are now. I'm gonna go ahead and set this up as per this until it's the further order of the court. I'll see whether or not this stays here or not, but as it's transferred over to district under the divorce. But for right now, that's what I'll do. And if it looks like this is going to end up before me as far as the order, the SAPSR portion is concerned, and if that's what the parties want, and that's what the judge, the district judge wants, I will probably look at going ahead and appointing Ms. Gustafson as that Litem to check out both households and to see make recommendations going forward as to what the visitation schedule might be. But for these circumstances, and this is what the court's going to go with. Is there anything else I need to specifically rule on at this time, Ms. Gonzalez-Taylor?
Judge, could I just confirm to make sure I understand the ruling? So the parties will be named joint managing conservators. Mom is primary. Are we leaving the geographic restriction?
Yeah, I'll leave the geographic restriction, bail and contiguous counties.
And then dad's going to get it's the standard possession schedule, which will include the 50 miles or less. And then
you get the expanded one, yes.
Yes, and then pickup and returns is just going to be at the mom's residence or
No,
school.
it's at school. The expanded one is the 1 to 50 is he picks up at the end of the school day on Thursday and returns the child to school the following Monday.
Right, but if they're not in school, it'll be at mom's residence.
Correct.
Okay, and then child support at $624. You said beginning April 1st. Medicaid, $75 beginning April 1st. We're going to reserve the retroactive support. And then, Your Honor, I didn't get this from Mr. Bass, but neither of the parties was requesting a non-disclosure, so there'll be no non-disclosure for either one.
Correct.
And then I have one more. Oh, okay. So this court will sign the order consolidating then into the divorce.
Any objection, Mr. Worley?
Whatever you want to do, Judge. I have no objection.
Tell you what, let me talk to the DJ on this. Which district court are you in?
We're in Dusky.
Okay, let me give Judge Dusky a call and see and see what he wants me to do. Okay, we'll keep that out for now, Miss Gonzalez-Taylor. Okay.
Okay, and then are you resetting it back at this docket, or are you going to wait to speak with the district court judge?
I want to wait to speak to the district court judge, and I'll tell you what, let's make sure it doesn't fall through the cracks like this other thing did the other day. So I'm going to go ahead and reset this on a general docket a month out to get it to set either a scheduling order. And Mr. Bass, here's the thing: you may not have noticed it, but in the paperwork that you were served with the state back in July of last year, there was a request for production. I know you're not a lawyer, but the request for production included information that you were mandated to turn over copies of your bank records and your last 2 years income tax returns. Well, sir, we are looking at retroactive child support on this one. The court is allowed to go back up to 4 years. Y'all haven't been separated 4 years, so but since the date of separation, I can technically order child support for that entire time frame until you start paying child support, sir. And unfortunately, under the most circumstances, that could mean a judgment of thousands of dollars. And so, but it is what it is. It's what the family code mandates. It's what the custodial party is entitled to. So the court will be going into that. But no matter what, even if I move this to district court, the AG will still be on this for that for the child support portion of it. And you do need to go ahead and get that information to the state. And I'm going to go ahead and have the state put in the order that you have until the 31st day, 31st day of March to get that discovery to the state, sir, because technically you've had 6 months, so almost 8 months now. So Mr. Bass, I'm gonna start with you, sir. I know you're not a lawyer, and I talk real fast because I've been doing this way too long. But any questions, sir?
You say I need to put in, turn in my income tax?
Yeah, a copy of your last 2 years. Well, at the time you were served, you were supposed to turn over your 23 and 24 and 22 income tax returns, but obviously it asks for the last 2. Have you filed your 2024s yet?
No, sir, I haven't.
All right then. Well, we're looking for your last 2 years, sir, and your current pay stubs, all that. If you look in the paperwork that you got, it's all in there, sir. And that needs to go to the Attorney General's office through the and you'll have their information.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions, Mr. Bass?
No, that'll be all, sir.
All right, then. Like I said, I'm gonna talk to the district judge. I'd like if I can go ahead and keep this here, I will. That way, y'all can keep the things to a minimum in the divorce. But for right now, I'll go ahead and let's look at the reset date for
Judge,
possible. Go ahead. You got a date you picked already?
Well, they were telling me there's room on April 8th.
Okay. Cousin Gary's birthday. Got it.
And then Judge, okay, never mind. We're resetting it to April 8th.
Okay, and at that time, yeah, just for an update, and I'll confirm with the DJ, and we'll move forward based on that information when we come back on that date. So,
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, yes, sir, Mr. Bass, you got a question?
Yes, sir. When we come back on April 8th, if everything is going to stay in this court, would you be providing the attorney then for my daughter?
Yes, sir. I will.
Okay.
Again, and I'll even talk to the DJ if he wants me to go ahead and do one there. I'll do one. But again, I'm trying to keep the expenses down, sir, because at the end of the day, you and mom could be hard to pay that lawyer back. Okay, so
that would be completely fine with me. I just wanted.
Okay, I just want to let you know, but that lawyer does not represent you or the mother. That lawyer would only represent the child. So you might need to go seek your own counsel, sir. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, everybody, very much. I'll have the state prepare that temporary order. Is there anything else, Mr. Worley?
No, Judge.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Gonzalez-Taylor?
Judge, I've told the parties that I'll be able to release them, and then I'll draft and send it to them later.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, everybody. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and we're off the record.
All right.
Thank you. Bye, Mr. Worley. Bye. Mr. Bass, you can just hit leave meeting and you'll be able to just leave.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.